Hello everyone, thanks for having me here. I'm really thrilled to be here. I want to take you through what mattered to me as a citizen. I'm going to stop. Don't know how to make this move, sorry.
Kate Allatt.
There we are. It was a bit slow. Just want to start by saying my definition of compassion, before I get into my story, over the last 9 years. Compassion is a sensitivity to the suffering of ourselves and others, and the intention and desire to alleviate that suffering. That's what I understand compassion to be. Now, back in 2010, I was a 70-mile-a-week fell runner. Yeah, I was obsessive. I was the original Forrest Gump, if you like. I used to love doing that. I was only 39. Yeah, you can do the maths. That was all to change, because on the 7th of February 2010, this happened. Oh, it's not working.
Kate Allatt from Dore in South Yorkshire had a severe brainstem stroke and then went on to develop locked-in syndrome. Doctors said she'd never walk or talk again, but the mother of 3 defied their predictions.
Now, what is locked-in syndrome? Okay, if you're familiar with the story of Tony Nicholson, basically it's where you can think, feel, see, hear, but move absolutely nothing. Not even give a signal in some cases that you can even understand. It's the most terrifying condition you can imagine. I guess you could liken it to having an operation and actually having a faulty anaesthetic where you wake up as you're being cut open and you have no ability to tell the doctor you can feel everything. You know, it's really awful. And I was in an ICU on life support machine, and my family were assembled to say goodbye to me because I was very unlikely to recover from my brainstem stroke with my 3 children, 5, 8 and 10 at the time. So it was particularly horrific for everybody. Really I had no hope. I was put in a coma for 3 days, and when I emerged from that coma, I was considered vegetative. I can't say the word, sorry. But I wasn't. After about a week or so, I was fully aware of everything going on around me, but I couldn't give any signal I could understand. In fact, doctors told my husband, and this is paraphrasing by the way, but my husband told me this, that I'd be better off dead. So it was fairly horrific. Sorry, I'm not having trouble with my clicker. Now, right, okay, that's fine, I'll try. What I've done for you next is to prepare something for you to try and get an idea what it felt like to be me in that situation. And this does come with a health warning, but I think it's really important to realise that that individual that was being kept alive in ICU very diligently by the NHS, the nurses, was also a thinking, feeling human being and not just a number, not just a citizen. So I've warned her. It's me, please pick up the board, please. Can't you see I want to communicate? Look into my eyes, please, just look into my eyes. I'm so scared, I don't sleep, I can't sleep at night. Ow! My bloody leg cramp, please stop. No one knows about it. Just great. Can the indignity get any worse? Now, he told my mum, I've started my monthlies. I need to hug my kids. Where are they? This separation is breaking my heart. Is Woody going to piano? I bet India's skin's in a right mess. Damn! I've shut myself. Oh no, right in front of Rob while he's visiting. Judging by the look on his face, it's just so bad. Oh, this is so embarrassing. Please treat me like you want to be treated yourself. I'm still me inside. Good fun, Kate. Oh my God, that poor man next to me has just died. I've never seen a dead body before. I'm so frightened. What if the nurses are trying to kill me with that graphite drip? I've seen the films. Maybe they think I'm not worth keeping. Please look into my eyes. I need help. I'm so scared. My heart is jumping out of my chest. Now, it was 2 weeks before my friend, my best friend, my partner in crime, Alison, noticed a slight flicker in my eyelids. And she had the gumption to maybe try and use that, because she always believed I was inside when everyone else said I wasn't. And she went away from that visit the next day with 2 pieces of paper that you can see in front of you. One written A to Z. She mocked up her own very rudimentary communication board, because she thought, well, if I could maybe try and flicker or twitch my lid once for no and twice for yes, then maybe she could establish a system of communication. And the little man, the stick man, was to identify where my pain was, because I was in extreme pain. Imagine not moving a muscle, and maybe every 4 hours someone, if they remembered or was on, was near you at the time, would reposition you and move you. So it was pretty horrific, really. So anyway, she explained to me what was happening, assumed I'd understand. I gave her a twitch to suggest, 2 switches to suggest yes, and she set about reading out the letters as I twitched once or twice for yes or no, no or yes. The first 3 letters I ever spelt out were, she went from A, and I twitched once, all the way to S, where I twitched twice. Back to A, twitched once, all the way to L, twitched twice. Back to A, all the way to E, where I twitched twice. And thank God she put me out of my misery, because that took 25 minutes. 25 minutes. She said, sleep. And I twitched twice. And she said, what? Can't sleep. And I twitched twice. And then she said, at night. And I twitched twice. So I managed to only spell out 3 letters, and she got all that. But I can tell you, that moment that she understood the word sleep was like the birth of my children times plus every Christmas, every birthday in the last 40 years times 1,000. It was the moment of being unlocked. It was incredible. Really, really incredible. But I have to say, it was also very frustrating, this communication system. There's me and my husband. I used to suffer really bad leg cramps, and I thought it was because I ran obsessively. It's to do with my neurological illness. But can you imagine having leg cramps or any sort of cramp and not being able to tell anybody who got it, or certainly being able to relieve it, just have to lie there and endure it. So this day that my husband came with the letterboard and could see that I perhaps needed to explain something, he picked the board up, and he was pretty rubbish with it, to be honest. But truthfully, anyway, you are videoing this, aren't you? He set off from A, and I went to L, blink twice, back to A to E, blink twice, back to A to G, blink twice. And I looked at him, and he went back to A. I thought, well, I'll have to go along with this, won't I? And I went all the way along to C, and then he got the board, and he threw it on the bed. I went, Kate, you've lost your marbles. There's no such word as LEGC. Now, there was no end of word box on there, and I was trying to spell out the words leg cramp. Now, at that moment, if I could have jumped out of bed and shoved that board where the sun don't shine, I would have done. But truthfully, it was frustrating for both of us. But I'm going to fast forward you now, 9 weeks. I was in ICU for 9 weeks. I was on life support. After week 8, all that moved was my head a little bit, not much, and that thumb, right thumb, moved 3 millimeters. That was it. Nothing else. Fortunately, I got an opportunity to go to rehab. Now, maybe that was because I was young, fit. I wasn't the normal profile in the north of Sheffield, where I was in hospital. Some of the nurses had kids my kids' ages. Whatever the reason, I got to go to rehab. I'm going to fast forward you 6 weeks in rehab. In rehab, I'd spend my days with that little bit of head movement, with most of the time with a therapist playing the piano with a helmet and a probe that broke the laser that played a keyboard. And I could be, in those moments, thinking to myself, really, has my life come to this? You know, they were clearly trying to work on my, understandably, my head movement, but for me, it seemed quite desperate, basically, and that's putting it politely. So when the opportunity for me at 6 weeks came for my review, I thought, brilliant, this is where we're going to ramp up my therapy. Fantastic. You know, I was used to working hard, running a lot, exercising a lot. And that review would be all my family, my best friend, all the multidisciplinary team looking after me, and doctors, nurses, occupational therapists, everything else. And me. And I was there in a wheelchair, dribbling like Hooch the dog, you know. Anyway, I was excited. The first thing the consultant said as he opened up the meeting was, thank you all for coming. I have nothing more to add. My trachea started blowing because I was thinking, this is not quite what I expected. Next to him, the OT said no change. Neurophysio said no change. Nurse said no significant improvement. Came back to the rehab consultant. He said, okay, we need to discuss now discharge to a nursing care home. Now, at that point, I was completely written off, hence the picture, and I fell to pieces, trachea blowing, had to be taken back to bed, hoisted back. And in my book I wrote, I spelt out 3 words to my best friend who could see how distressed I was, and she got the letterboard out. The 3 words were, stand by me. And she did, have to say, but I'm really struggling with this quicker. Anyway, that event was a real turning point for me, it was my 40th birthday. I was supposed to be climbing Kilimanjaro via the Western Breach. I never got a refund. That's a bit tight, that, wasn't it? I mean, come on. Anyway, and on top of that, this particular week, my husband decided to take our 3 kids to Cornwall without me on my birthday. And then my mum decided to go and do a Thelma and Louise trip around America for 3 weeks on my birthday. So the nurses bought me a balloon that I tied to my bed. So that was my 40th. And my 50th next year. I'm hoping it's going to be a bit better. Anyway, so I'm sorry to say I was a bit off. Sorry, I don't know what happened. Anyway, but that, with the review, I was really angry. And I was written off at that point. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to prove you all wrong. Because you've just written off the wrong person. I've already had a bit of a chip on the shoulder, truthfully. Anyway, if anyone said I couldn't do something, it was motivation to do it in spite. So they went on their holiday. I spent all this time in rehab on my own, and I spent every waking minute of the day willing, trying to improve the range of whatever movement I had, whether it was a slight twitch, I'd try and get a bit more, or introduce another finger, or if I had a little bit of rotation in my wrist, I'd try and flip it over. Whatever I had, I never stopped. I'd work continuously. I called it willing. I now with all my work, it's repetitive, frequent, intensive, which is what Dr. Robert Teasel talks about, who's a stroke consultant. But I did that, but I called it willing. And I started to have spectacular results. Give you an example, I'd be in bed, be rubbish television on, bargain hunt and whatever else, afternoon, when therapy had finished, and I never stopped. And this side, the left side, didn't move for 5.5 months. And I thought, well, there's no way I'm ever even going to walk out, hug my kids, run again, do anything unless this side moved. And so I literally stare at my big left toe, and in my head I'm having an argument. And they say, could have an argument in empty room, I had one in my head. You know, I'd be telling myself, come on, move, dummy, just move, you move. Anyway, after about 3 weeks, I got a flicker in my toe. Tiny flicker, just like my thumb. And I thought, fantastic. If I can make that move, that being the farthest from my brain, then game on for the whole of my left side. That was my mentality. It was never if I would run again, walk again, be a mum again, go home. It was when. Didn't know when it would be, but it was only going to be a when. And then I started to decide, well, I am going to eat again because I hated being nil by mouth. I could have killed anybody who smelt of anything with food related or coffee. And I was going to walk again. I was going to walk out of hospital. I was going to hug my kids. I was going to run by my first anniversary. That's what I was going to do. I mean, the nurses and the staff laughed at me because they were what mattered to me. What mattered to me, that was what was going to motivate me. As I say, not if, but when. All the way along, I've been struck by my family were told to lower their expectations. They were given the diving bell and butterfly to read because that was going to be my existence, constantly lowering their expectations. So they started believing the men in white coats, and therefore they started having lower expectations of me. So they wouldn't come and practice my exercises that I wanted to practice because it would be cruel, because they'd be making me think that I was going to get better than I was because they knew that I wasn't. So they'd find a way of avoiding those exercises. So lowering someone's expectations is really, really damaging. And I found that the word plateau is used an awful lot, and it's really a cost-saving word, but not a word to represent how much more improved someone's ever going to be. And it's so destructive to a lot of people, patient citizens in the community, that they are told they're never going to improve or they've got as far as they're going to get. It has a real negative effect on people. And this is a really good example of that. The psychologist took my friend out of the room, unbeknown to me, and she said, "We have a problem. Kate's expectations are here and ours are here. You need to bring Kate down to us." And she said, "No, damn you, you need to go up to her." Now, I don't know whether I've given you the impression, but I was not the easiest patient. But I knew what I wanted, and I wanted to be home with my kids, and that was what motivated me. But, you know, in the course of your resilience that you all need in your job and everything you do in life, you know, we all have tough times. You know, you have to find your resilience, and part of that for me was always having a laugh. And no matter what desperate situation I was in, I'd have a laugh. And I have to say that I'm very proud to stand here and say that I'm the first person I know of in Sheffield who's ever been given a verbal warning in hospital. In fact, one more and I'd be out. Respect. Anyway, that was because the first time I got fitted with an electric wheelchair, the fire escape door was open because it was a very hot day, and I saw my bolt for freedom. The ward manager didn't like the fact that I demonstrated then what my best friend had showed me for purely rehab purposes, which was the rods, as I was racing along the grass trying to escape. Anyway, so I did have a laugh. I did have some very low points. I did fail an awful lot, and failure is something I've learned more from than any success I've ever had. But I think we also need to embrace failure, because I think failure is a good thing. That's just my advice. I also have to tell you, a picture of my eldest daughter, India, and my youngest son, Woody, who was 5 at the time. That little boy there is the reason I'm stood here talking to you. Because one day, he came on a Friday with his sister, his brother, and his dad to see me. And at that point, if someone held the paper, I could write to communicate. So I'd gone from blinking to grid to writing. And he said, typical 5-year-old, "Mum, don't write my name, say my name." And it was 5.5 months after my stroke, and no one had even asked me or even suggested I try and speak or make a sound. I just assumed I'd be mute. Anyway, because I'd not been home for 6 months, and any parent would want to do anything to please their child, I spontaneously went, "Ugh." That was it. Now, I don't know why, but the whole room erupted in tears, and I thought, did it sound that bad? and then my middle son said, "Say my name," so I tried to say, "Hi." And then India and Mark, it's like, "Are you having a laugh?" But But the reason I cried was because the speech and language therapist had said on my husband's mountain bike ride that I'd never speak again. So it was just, it was unbelievable for them. But all weekend after that Friday, I practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced, moving my tongue, moving my mouth, trying to get a sound, trying to make the word. No therapy at a weekend, just on my own, doing it like I always did. I stopped doing my arm or leg or whatever and focused purely on my breathing, my diaphragm. I'm a marketeer, by the way, the doctor thing you'll hear about in a minute. But so it was just trying. Anyway, Monday morning, my favourite nurse Oliver came in the room with a box and he went, "Morning, Kate." And I went, "Oh, Oliver." And he dropped the box and he said, "It's moments like this I came into nursing." But you know what? 10 months after my stroke, I walked 4 times further than I'd ever walked in rehab. And because I was a marketeer and because I wanted to see my own progress, not because I ever thought I'd be doing this, was to video it. So here we are.
See you Friday. Bottom, head up. You're sagging. Oh, you're crying.
Oh, come on.
Come on, sweetie.
Okay. Come on. Hey.
You've been desperate to leave. Don't get upset you're leaving us now. Have a sit down for a second, sweetie, and then get up again.
This is happy tears, I think.
I know, they're happy tears of joy.
Hey? Come on, we don't want to do any longer. Get your son out.
And do you know what? The day I left hospital, as a legacy for my kids, I started writing a book with a ghostwriter. It has gone internationally published. It's on Amazon. I've got 7 copies. Anybody wants? But, you know, I wrote in that book what I probably wouldn't write now, 8 years on, because at the time I was writing it for my kids, because I thought if I could nearly die of this brain stem stroke at the height of fitness, anything could happen. I want them to know my story. Now, I call a spade a spade. I lost my job. My boss had been banged up because he's been embezzling money. I lost most of my family and friends. And I thought, really, I'm not in the business now of, I'd lost my dignity, I'd lost everything in life. So I wasn't there to protect anybody or to do anything for political gain, the small p. So I wrote what I wrote, and I really stand by that because that's how I felt at the time about everything, about my whole experience. I'm very proud of that because within 6 months of leaving hospital, it was on the bookshelves. So I'm really proud of that. But you know what? I met this guy, and I've not got time to go into it, but Mike Lee, he believed that I could run within 3 months. Bearing in mind, I'd left hospital with a frame and been able to walk safely on my own 5 yards. And within 3 months, he got me off the frame onto sticks, off sticks altogether. And the day before my first anniversary of my stroke, I got to do a 10-yard shuffle in Ecclesall Woods, unaided, with all my village turned out. So I was very proud of that. So I did achieve that goal as well, which they all thought was laughable. But, you know, I have to say the loss I had, I've alluded to, when I came out of hospital, is the euphoria of spending each night rotating which child I slept with because of the euphoria of me being home, to the absolute post-traumatic stress I never had diagnosed, but I definitely had. I think I'd be insane to be in a wheelchair, and that was a dream. I was actually lying in bed, unable to move. The most awful flashbacks from all the hallucinations and the really horrific experiences I'd had. The fact I'd lost my business, I'd lost my job, I'd lost my ability to be a parent. In our family, it was never ask your dad, go ask your mum. I was the matriarch, but I'd lost all that. Lost my sense of purpose, my worth, what I did, who I was. It was just the loss. And I was literally left out of hospital with a wave, and I've never been back to hospital apart from one discharge meeting. That was it. So it was tough. But you know what? 3 months after, something happened. I can't go into it. It's to do with I can go into it, I haven't got time. Kilimanjaro, I was asked to go on, and I went and did an interview 4 days before my stroke, very bubbly, very lively, talking about my charity climb. That never happened. The producer then rang me up, wanting to know, not knowing I'd been ill, how the charity climb had gone. And when I explained it never happened, because I was in hospital all that time, she was so shocked, sent a taxi straight away, interviewed me. The original clip of me before, then after, was a broken woman. And that interview got syndicated all around the world. No big deal. What was the big deal was all these mums, sisters, daughters, brothers who contacted me over email or Twitter to say, I need help, we're on our own here, we've been written off. Maybe you can help us. I founded a charity on the back of that because I was so inundated. It was a registered charity within 3 months of leaving hospital, called Fighting Strokes, with the strapline, no promises, just possibilities. Never ever given any false hope, never ever quashing hope. Just saying what I'd done and then what other people I've subsequently helped have done to help themselves. And it's been phenomenal. I've met some incredible people, not least this lady here, 17 years in a wheelchair with a headrest, not eaten, not moved, not anything. She Skyped me with her carer, and she was inspired by a story that she'd read in the newspaper. And to cut a long story short, I got her some help. They came once a week. Within 3 months, the neural physio company, who saw her as a guinea pig and thought they could get some kudos out of helping her do something, she lost a headrest. That kick-started all these 17 years worth of dormant nerves, and within a year of that, she was able to sit on a plinth, side to side, forward about, even catch a ball. With another 18 months of that first meeting on Skype meeting, she was able to stand, as you can see in the picture there. This is a girl that hadn't done anything for 17 years. Well, at this point, 18 and a half years. And do you know what? 2 years after that Skype conversation, she posted this picture of herself eating the biggest piece of chocolate cake ever, having not had anything to eat for 19 years. She had to go on a diet afterwards because she could... Oh, this girl here, Claudia, went to go and see her in Poland Saturday. Spent 5 hours at her bedside trying to inspire her to believe in herself, to try. No promises, but what she got to lose to try and move her arm. She's not going to fall out of bed doing it. What she got to lose? When I left her, she could do that with her arm. 10 hours it took me to get back to Sheffield. Her boyfriend sent me a WhatsApp. This is a weekend, no therapy. To me, that was trying, but I gave her the permission to try. That's all I did. It came from her. Now, all this was happening with all these amazing success stories. At the same time, my kid is in the story. There's a story about this recently. My kids were being bullied at school. Your mum's disabled. There's a boy who's just killed himself recently because his mum thalidomide. And that was one of the reasons cited. And that, it's something they had to deal with at school. So they'd defend me at school, but come home and be resentful. Why I wasn't like everybody else's mum. Why was I different? Why did I have to be different? When I tried to get help with child psychologists for them, they'd spent 3 hours, 3 of them, doing that. They wouldn't talk. And, I didn't realise this in my charity. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. As hard as it is to see your kids suffering, and they sure are after this traumatic experience that's affected all of us. So there were tantrums that I couldn't cope with, because literally if someone did that to me, I'd have fallen over. I had no balance. So I struggled with my husband going back to work full time. I became withdrawn, they became withdrawn. And then the other thing they did, which I always remember, before I went to hospital, they were doing piano, swimming, hockey, football, street dance. Everything just stopped. They became isolated and withdrawn. Meanwhile, we went to camp. My husband didn't help the situation because he's a bit of an alpha male. Well, that was a waste of time, that wasn't it? In earshot of the kids, who'd had to battle to get there anyway. And of course, that was enough for them to go, we're not going again. So, I was having these massive professional successes, but personally, we were all in crisis. Now, I have to say, what about the people that don't recover? Take this girl here, 19, supermodel in LA. Her name was is Cathy. She never recovered. That's how she looks now. You just can't take the model out of her. She made her personal assistants go on hair and makeup courses, so she looks like that. She can't move a muscle. When I went to go and see her overseas, she had her legs, arms and crossed and arms crossed, and I thought, oh, that's very relaxed. Actually, that was to help her stay upright in a wheelchair and to keep her in a really good position. But she couldn't move. She had to be positioned that way. And she was there with her knee-length boots and thigh-length skirt. It was unbelievable. And she hasn't moved for 20 years, and she looks like that. She's a TED speaker through our gaze. She even got married 16 years after her stroke. They're the happiest people I've ever met. Don't know how it works, but it does. You know, here's me not to judge. So even when people don't recover, the point being, people can have quality of life. Society makes judgments that you can't possibly have a quality of life if you can't move, wipe your own backside, drink a coffee, whatever. But you can, and she's an example of that, a massive example. This woman who painted this picture hasn't moved from Norway. She's painted this with her mouth, because where everything else doesn't move, the only thing that does move is the mouth, and she uses it. It's not about what you can't do, it's about what you can do. Incredible. This guy, Bram, he's a DJ using eye tracking equipment. He can't move either, but he's very happy. In fact, there's research to have proven that actually locked-in syndrome, people who don't recover, are actually very happy because they get to see their grandchildren grow up and they get to do this, that, and the other. You know, and I've seen people do 360s where they think, well, if that happened to me, I wouldn't want to survive, and they've got the written living will. However, when the thing has happened, they've gone completely 360s, that they have to get to convince the wife with a social worker that actually they don't want the machine turning off, even though that's what they said they thought they would want prior to being ill. Some people do want the end, like Tony Nicholson. We're all individual, and that's fine. But we can't write everybody off either. And equally, and this leads on to this point, I had spent weekends working as a key worker to see what it was like on the other side. I've been a patient for a long time. I wanted to see the pressures they were under. And, you know, it was just phenomenal for me, because it was just so hard work and so emotionally hard for me to know that's where in fact, the place I went to was a place I was going to go to had I not recovered. And it was very emotional and very difficult for me to be there. And all I could think about is, we pat ourselves on the back because we saved these lives for people who've had these traumatic brain injuries and strokes and whatever else. But we give very little thought to what the quality of life for these people when they exist in these nursing homes. Why is that, you know? Why do we save these lives? And, you know, I would have died 20 years ago. Why are we doing this if we're not thinking about what these people are going to do in these nursing homes? Because what actually happened to the people I saw, because of the budgets and because of the staff, because of the expectations on them, were just purely functional things: washed bed, hoisted out of bed, fed, thrown in front of, not literally, but in front of this morning, where they sit there until they have lunch, and then it's changed, maybe not, and then it's all over again for tea time, and then it's bed. What are we doing to these people? I mean, I took one lady who's got dementia, lovely lady, black lady called Joy, wore wigs, and I took her because she liked to be busy. She always folded napkins and everything else. I took her to the craft room because she liked to colour in. She got a pencil out, and then she got another pencil out, another pencil out. Every single pencil in the pot on the craft room table was blunt. She was trying to colour in a mindfulness book, and she couldn't colour in. I got off shift and went straight to Amazon and bought her a pencil sharpener, because it broke my heart that there's a lady who volunteered, who's been there for 5 years, hadn't picked up on that. The other guy loves to watch Number 82 Red Bus on YouTube, but the lady who was in the craft room didn't know how to help me get onto the internet to allow him to sit there and watch the Number 82 bus. The basics. Basics. I had an idea in hospital, having been a guinea pig, that electrical therapy could help improve people's upper limb function. And I sent a cheeky tweet out to the occupational therapist at the University of Nottingham. And 6 months after that tweet, we managed to secure £250,000 research funding. And 3 weeks ago, that was finally published, that piece of research. So thinking differently, and if it matters to you, you can not only just improve, but you can make things change. You can make things better for other people. You've got to believe in it, though. I've worked with the King's Fund. I've done the NHS Confed. I've even met the Queen. And I was a TEDx speaker, voicing inner thoughts. It's still on YouTube. You can get my hit rate up. And the reason I'm a doctor is because of my work over the last 8 years for other people, because I felt I had to do it. Sheffield Hallam University have been watching my career progress and kindly awarded me the honorary doctorate, which came completely out of the blue, which is very sweet, I have to say. And I even tried to give this guy some advice on no-deal Brexit. He clearly didn't listen though. The charm evaded me. So, I'm nearly at the end. Compassionate care in the community will help us to be the best we can be. Now that's about being caring, compassionate, it's having courage. Communication is so key. Commitment and competence, they're the 6 C's in the NHS they talk about a lot of the time, and I think they're very relevant. And I think there are real benefits of being compassionate in the community. This study here, and I can't read, I've not got my glasses on, but this study you can get the link from, they found that patients continually thanked people in the community who cared for them, who gave them a chance to let their voices be heard. That's really important, because the added value for that is you build patient trust, citizen trust, but it also, being thanked, boosts our morale, doesn't it? Makes us feel good to be thanked, to know we're doing a good thing, it's for that gratitude. So it's really important to be compassionate. And I have to say, just 21 months after my stroke, this happened.
That's amazing, Kate.
So that goal wasn't ambitious either. And that's the end of my talk, and I'm bang on time. But if anybody wants a question, please ask me, or if you run out of time, you've not got time now, we can do it later.
Fantastic, Kate. I think we can probably take a couple of questions. We'll keep it just to 2, but it would be a shame not to give the audience an opportunity, really.
Okay, anybody want to ask me anything? Or have I just bored you? Go for it.
Kate, phenomenal, inspirational, wonderful. What's next?
Well, funny you should say that. The film. Purely because a lot of people buy into my story, which is great, but for me, the exciting thing is starting a conversation about quality of life. For me, that and communication. I've been asked to be involved in a very new research about, and I've said communication should be the 5th vital sign in ICU, and it should be, without question. That and the fact I want to do a TV drama that also showcases the story that what can be done by somebody who's as bloody minded as I was and am. But also, I think this whole conversation about quality of life, I really think it's so important. So that's what I'm really trying to do.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm sure Kate's going to be here for
There's
a bit
one
long.
there.
Oh, lovely. There's a microphone coming, just so that people behind.
Your health now, you know, you had a major stroke. Is it something you have to keep an eye on? You know, is that it, or is you going to be fine now?
No, I'm not. Look, I might look normal, whatever normal is, but no, I have to work at it all the time. I mean, when I'm not busy, I'm at the gym every day, but if I don't go to the gym every day, even do a little bit, then my core stability goes. It's like, you know, someone, like in my former life, if I didn't do exercise for 6 months, I could pick it up again because I was so fit. But I find now, the minute I take my foot off, I instantly know it. And so I fall over more, and I'm very uneasy on my legs. And if I'm tired, my voice goes, and I suffer with dysphagia. I have lots of medical things that you wouldn't necessarily know about, but you just deal with it, don't you? But I think the most worrying is the dysphagia, because I have a lot of things stuck in my throat because my esophagus doesn't move properly. So when you see me choking, that's fine. Ring the ambulance.
Okay, you happy to take one more? Gabe, microphone's coming. Gabe, microphone's coming.
Kate, what you've described is courageousness and the willingness to challenge and be awkward. Many of us are not of that ilk. Can you suggest how we could become more courageous and maybe a little bit more awkward?
I think the polite way to describe me, the impolite is bloody-minded, the polite way is a positive disruptor. And, yes, and I think, I don't know, I think maybe in a way I've had the fear of that taken out of me because I work for myself and I'm only there trying to further that's my only agenda, and I do it for free, so I'm not looking to gain out of it. So that's quite good for me. I think it is very difficult, but I do think we do need to be a bit more of a positive disruptor in life. I think we do need to question why. Whenever I get asked to do any projects or consultancy work with these mental health charities or others, because I get involved in lots of different things, my questions are always, but why are we doing that? But why? What's the benefit? What's the benefit? And I'm always thinking, okay, how would that help a patient? I'm always thinking, what's the benefit? Very early in my career, and I've never forgotten it, we're talking about Dysons, you don't buy a Dyson because it's lightweight, it's purple or yellow. You buy a Dyson because you're told that if you buy one, you'll spend less of your off time, casual social time, cleaning your house because it'll be faster to do. So the benefit is the time saving. It's not the look of it, and which is the features. So I'm always thinking benefits. What is the reason we're doing this for? And that's how, asking those whys.
Okay, are you staying for a little bit longer?
Yes.
Dave, lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much to Kate.